What are the commonalities among leaders who sustain excellence over an extended period of time?
All right, Tim, to get us started with a bang, I love studying excellence and understanding the commonalities among people who sustain excellence over an extended period of time. So I think based on reading one of your other books called Relentless, you would call these people cleaners.
Yes.
And you write that cleaners have the ability to achieve the end result over and over. What are some of the other common themes / characteristics of cleaners?
Well, obviously one that you just said, they have an ability to achieve that end result over and over again, but it's the other traits that they have that allow them to do that. And, one of them is they know exactly who they are. They know who they are. They don't let other people identify their personalities, their traits, how they feel about things, what they have to sacrifice. They don't look for other individuals to validate what they're doing. They understand the difference between criticism and feedback. These are the same individuals that also they have the ability to change their story. They don't let other people write their story for them. They're constantly changing story. Yeah, they do gather information from your podcast, from other individuals' podcasts, and they know what to take and what to leave behind. And if something doesn't work for them, they're like, okay, this isn't for me, but this may help somebody else. Another important trait that these individuals have is they know that when they get that end result, there's always more to do, and they know they have to do it better that next time. It's what you said earlier about achieving multiple successes over and over again. They know how to have success at success. And in order to do that, they know they have to come back better for the next win, each championship, each goal, each whatever it is, from a business standpoint, if you reach a certain amount of numbers, every quarter or however you measure it, is they know that the next quarter they have to put in a bigger effort to achieve what they did before.
What do you think about celebration? So I want to ask, this is personal, but I've also recognized it in some of the athletes that you've worked with. I remember thinking, if you would ask me 5 years ago or 6 or 7 years ago, maybe, like, you're going to get a professional book deal from one of the big publishers, I probably said, well, I'm going to celebrate for a week. We're going to go nuts. And now that's happened twice. And I've gotten kind of bottles of champagne sent to me and other things. And we still haven't really celebrated. I mean, we had a book launch party, but that was really kind of a promotional event. And my next one's getting ready to come out in a few months. And maybe we'll do the same, but there hasn't really been a celebration. It's like on to the next thing.
Right.
What about like this? And I know you write about like there's no balance. So I am curious to kind of dive deep here. What about when you do accomplish something big, when there is a win, this I guess dichotomy between celebrating and being happy in that moment versus having this weird mindset that I think I identify with of, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, you know what? This is what I always say: celebrate hard, but don't celebrate long.
Mm-hmm. We're here for a good time, not a long time, as my friend Bobby Carpenter's told me.
Yes, exactly. You come in, you do what you're supposed to do. You listen. It's important for you to acknowledge your achievements. It's important for others to acknowledge them. But understand, all right, it's wonderful. You got a book deal. It was a success. Now you got another book deal. All right, that book deal actually puts more pressure on the individual. That's why that person thinks it's what's next. It says, okay, now that I got this book deal, how do I get this book to as many people's hands as possible. How can I convey this information to all those individuals? So you've had your little celebration about wonderful. I got a book deal. Now when we talk about what's next, it's not like you're already moving to the next project, but a lot of individuals do. They'll be like, okay, I got an advance for my book. Great. I wrote the book. Now let's go on. To individuals like yourself and to me, what next is how can you maximize what you've done? Can you maximize the knowledge in that book? Can you maximize the sales in that book? Can you maximize how many people you can influence with that book? And those are different celebrations that they're all little ones that sometimes never get into really the big one. Maybe somebody else has a big celebration, but you're already thinking about what else can I do again? After you did your first book, you're like, this is great. Now, if I'm gonna write a second book, I have to do it better than I did the first one. You won your first championship. Well, I gotta do the second one better than I did the next one. So it's that constant pressure that you put on yourself, because the pressure you put on yourself is always greater than the pressure other people are always going to put on you. And that's how, when other people put pressure on you, it doesn't bother you.
Yeah. I want to talk about the language of winning. So to start with that, what do you think of people who need to be, quote, pumped up or motivate themselves and others by yelling, let's do this, or you got this, or those who announce on social media, quote, crushed it or killed it? Like, talk to me about the language of winning and what you think of those types of individuals.
Well, you know what? It's fun. To me, motivation is entry level. All right. Yeah. It's for individuals that don't know what they want to do. They don't know what their goals are. They don't know what they want to achieve. They're looking for something to motivate them to figure out what they want to do. Certain individuals, motivation, they're way beyond that. They're looking to elevate themselves. They're looking to elevate whatever they're doing. They're looking to elevate the individuals around them. And when, in the book of winning, we talk about the language of winning. And when I asked all the individuals I deal with from an athletic standpoint, from a business standpoint, I told them to describe winning in one word. And you would figure, a lot of individuals will say, oh, it's euphoric, it's happy, it makes me feel good, it's wonderful. But these individuals, the answers they came up with was like, man, it's uncivilized, it's hard, it's nasty, it's dirty, it's unpolished, it's unforgiving, it's unapologetic. And I said, elaborate on that. There's like, well, the moments you spend in order to get to that celebration, and that celebration may be 30 seconds, 5 minutes, a day, whatever it may be, all the other times that you spend just trying to get to that day, that's what winning's about. It's about being uncivilized. It's hard. It's nasty. That's the language people don't want to understand, because if you don't understand that language, you're never going to stay in that. You're never going to stay inside that race. These individuals don't need to get pumped up. They don't need to tell other people that they crushed it. Other people will tell them they crushed it. They'll be like, yeah, they let the other people be their cheerleaders. They let the other people acknowledge their accomplishments. Those are the individuals that they got that internal fire that's always lit. They don't need anybody else to determine how much that flame is going to burn. They do it. Motivation is like you give control to somebody else of how you work at, how much hard you're going to work on that particular day. To me, this is what it's about. All right. You can do great things on the days you're quote unquote motivated. What do you do on the rest of those days? What can you do on the rest of those days? And the language of winning, if you literally need motivation every day, and what if you don't get it every day? What if you don't have it for the month? So those days they're just gone by. What can you do in those days where you're not feeling your best? You're tired. All right, you're like, I don't want to do this. If people that, obviously you work out, I work out. We have some of our best workouts where I'm like, man, I really don't want to be in this gym. I really don't want to be here. Or you have your best thoughts when you're writing something. You're just like, man, I'm having a moment here. I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. And if you keep telling yourself that over and over again, you'll never come to it. If you just kind of say, you know what, let me just walk away here for a second, but you don't let your mind rest. And then all these ideas kind of start popping in. And you're like, man, the day I didn't feel like doing anything is one of my most productive days.
What advice do you give to people who have those off days where because I from a workout perspective, I have had those all the time, right? Where you wake up, you feel bad, and you're like, but I remember the days before when I felt bad and I showed up anyway. And when I got home after the workout, man, I felt good. Like, wow, what a start to the day. Because I woke up not feeling like doing a headache or felt bad, did it anyway, pushed through it, and felt so good. And so like, I don't know if it's a nature versus nurture. I don't think it's that. What advice do you give to the people who are like, Tim, sometimes I'm not feeling it, and so I just don't do it, but you're telling me I need to do it? What are some things those people could put into place right now to push through that initial, I'm not really feeling it, and go forward anyway?
Well, you know what? You have to gather those wins every single day. That's what I'm saying. No matter how small they are, there are wins available to you every single minute, every single opportunity you have a chance to win. Winning is everywhere. So capture those little wins, even though when you don't feel like it. I've been working out almost my whole life. All right. I still don't enjoy it.
You enjoy having done it, probably. I know that's how I feel. Yeah.
I enjoy having done it. I enjoy the results. I enjoy the way it makes me. I enjoy the way it makes me feel. Yeah. I enjoy being able to go into my closet and being able to pick out anything I have and be able to fit in it. All right. So the joy of those wins cannot be achieved and cannot be attained on a regular basis if I only do things on the day that I feel good. All right. Yeah, that's the difference between what I said about motivation and elevation. Yeah, we have to do things every day that we don't want to do. Crave the end result so much that the work is irrelevant. Everyone says, I love 100% about what I do. No, you don't. There's not a single individual out there that loves 100% of what they do. You go on a list. You said, I think it was your brother that won that was in the NFL, correct?
Yeah.
I'm sure he played, I think you said 11 years.
Yeah.
I guarantee maybe for the first year he enjoyed practice. Then after that, it's just but you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have people are saying, "Oh, I love the process." I know Michael Jordan, I know Kobe, Wade, all the athletes that I've worked with. They didn't enjoy seeing me. Right? They didn't enjoy the wind sprints at practice. They didn't enjoy the 3-hour film sessions. They didn't enjoy any of that stuff. But they craved the end result so much that work became irrelevant. They knew they had to do that as part of the process. In order to sustain health physically and mentally, all right, you got to take care of yourself. It's part of being selfish. People always say, you have to give to others, which is true. When you have success, you want to give to others. You want to teach others. You want to be able to touch others. But if you're not selfish with yourself and you don't have the ability to take care of yourself, how the hell are you going to take care of anybody else? And the days you don't have that, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like doing this. Those are the days that you got to say, hey, I got to do this for myself. I have to do this for myself.
Yeah. I was talking with my friend Liam Murray recently about this, another quality individual and leader who chooses to do hard things. And this was the topic of our conversation of choosing to do the hard things first. And part of the joy of actually doing and having done that work is the fact that, most people don't want to and aren't willing to. And so you get some satisfaction out of that in itself, and then knowing the results that will most likely come because you are willing to do it. And so in a way, I sense that MJ and Kobe and D Wade, these guys that you've personally worked with for a long time, did you sense that from them, this joy in the fact that I know others aren't either willing or able to do what I'm willing and able to do every single day?
Yeah, exactly. It's so important because you know what? That gives them the ability to have trust in themselves in moments when everybody else is fatigued, when they're fatigued, when, they're just like everybody's worn out. Say, hey, listen, I've put in, not only have I put in more work, I've put in smarter work than everybody else. So while they're no longer physically able to do what they need to do, or mentally they're being drained because of what I did, my constant preparation over and over again, the consistency of years and years of doing things that other individuals wouldn't do or didn't do consistently allowed me to create the separation of where I am now and where they are. And it's about doing the fundamentals. It's about doing the thing. It's about the rituals. It's about having a routine that actually enhances your abilities, that actually moves you forward, instead of just having a routine that just is in place just to be stagnant.
Yeah. What do you think about the phrase, fake it till you make it?
Yeah. I hate that phrase. And the reason I say that now is with social media now, it's so easy to portray something that you're not. All right. It's so easy to portray success and to show things, whether it's the watches and the cars and the houses and all this other stuff. But what happens is you literally start to believe that stuff in your mind. And at some point, when I said earlier about you need to know exactly who you are, at that point, when a real opportunity comes and you need to know exactly who you are, you're not going to know who that person is because you haven't met that person in so long. You haven't had a conversation with that individual in years. The only persona you have is that fake person. With social media, the fake has become the new real. I always tell individuals, I said, pull out your phone and look at one of your social media pages. Look at your Facebook profile, or look at your Instagram profile, or TikTok, or wherever it may be. None of you look that good. None of you look that good. I mean, I've literally met people that said, "Oh, I followed you. I'm so and so," and then and somebody go, "Listen," and I pull up the Insta, and I was like, that's not even the same person. So now if you start to live those filters, you start to believe that stuff. And that the reason you fake it till you make it is, or people love to use that is because they're so worried about how everybody else perceives them.
Yeah.
They're worried about how that person conveys their happiness, what looks successful to those individuals. There's so many individuals out there that, listen, they don't care about the big cars, they don't care about the blings, they don't care about the big houses, and have accumulated so much joy and wealth that they just don't show it off. They may donate millions of dollars to different charitable contributions, or to them, their life of success and happiness is having a job that they can go to 9 to 5. All right, they got an apartment, they got a transportation. All right, and their time is spent raising their kids, playing in a charity softball playing in a softball league every Sunday or whatever it may be, that's their definition of happiness. That's their definition of success. They're not trying to fake it because everybody else says you need to have all these things.
One of the things you've written, and just so you know, Tim, you could probably tell, but I've read your book Winning and just pulled out a ton of quotes. We won't get to all of them, but I'm going to keep asking you to expand on some of them because I love this stuff. Oh, so one of the things that you wrote is winning isn't heartless, but you'll use your heart less.
Yes.
Please say more.
So you know what? As you start to win, all right, over and over again, or you get closer to winning, your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. It really, really does. You know, for individuals, you know, when we talked about earlier about people that can't get motivated, they can't get out of bed to do certain things. They can't, whether it's workout or whatever it may be, you know, put in the extra hours to make those phone calls. All right. What's keeping you in bed? It's your feelings that are keeping you in bed. All right. It's your feelings that are keeping you. Your mind tells you to get up. Your mind says, hey, get up. You know, I use the old adage that a lot of people use. I said, listen, if you're fortunate enough to open up your eyes and put your feet on the ground, it's a great day. Mm-hmm. The rest of it is up to you. You know, I don't know what the mortality rate is on a daily basis, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't get that opportunity. That don't get that opportunity. So if you've gotten that opportunity, now the rest is up to you. So your mind is telling you, hey, listen, get up. Let's get moving. Yeah, we do have to deal with stuff. Feelings make you overthink everything. They make you overanalyze stuff. They're like, okay, well, this could have been, this should have been. So what, you know, to me, what is overthinking? Overthinking is creating problems that don't even exist. You start to overanalyze, you start to overthink, and then what happens is you end up getting paralyzed. All right. Your mind makes decisions. It makes decisions. All right. This is what I need to get done. This is what I have to do. You don't overthink. All right. When we're all going to have disappointments, we're all going to have disappointments. You're going to have, when you're in that unforgiving race to winning, you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. All right. Feelings, you hold on to those failures. You hold on to those negative thoughts. You hold on to, man, things could have been better. All right. Your mind handles disappointment and failure. It handles them, and we all have it. You know, it's between that same individual who had something happen to them in their lifetime and their feelings hold on to them and they use that as a crutch for the rest of their lives. Well, you have that other individual whose mindset, who has that winning mindset, uses that same failure as saying, how can I do it better? Let me use this as a learning process. Let me figure out how my mind can handle this disappointment and take me farther and not be in the same place where I'm at.
I feel like you're talking about the dark side. And you said before, the dark side turns your anger into controlled rage. Now you're in control. So can you share more about the dark side and using that as fuel?
Sure. To me, everyone has a dark side. And I always tell individuals, it's not evil. It's not about anything that's bad, or, you know, it's not vampires. It's not Star Wars. It's not evil stuff. Your dark side is something that's unique to you. It is what fuels you and what keeps you going when nothing else will. That's what the dark side is. When you're in the worst possible situation, it tells you to keep going. It tells you to keep going. It does not allow you to give up. And here's a great example for individuals. Now, if you're raised in a broken home, whether you're raised with one parent, no parents, whatever it may be, an individual will use that as an excuse the rest of their lives. They'll be like, you know what, I didn't have a stable family. I didn't have this. I didn't have this. I didn't have a father. I didn't have a mother. Whatever it may be. And then you have another individual who's same circumstances, maybe in a different location, whatever it is, and uses that same thing and says, watch me, watch me. And that's that internal fuel. That's that ability to deal with the monsters underneath your bed. That's the ability to deal with your secrets, your fears, your insecurities. That's what it is. And Kobe, like, he even created the Mamba mentality, which was his dark side. That was his dark side. No. And we all have this alter ego. We all have this individual, but we're afraid to bring it out. We're afraid to use it because we're worried about being judged. You got to be able to control it first. You got to be able to control it and understand what it is. What fuels you when nothing else will? What disappointment did you have in your life? Or what victory did you have that you want more of? That's that internal fire. That's what keeps you going when you're literally your own cheerleader. You become your own cheerleader. You become your own hype person. You don't need somebody else to tell you you crushed it. You don't need to tell somebody to say, go get it. It's already internal. You're dealing with the voices that we all have in here, and you're understanding it, and you're getting them to play the tune that you wanted to play.
You bring up Kobe. So Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant are my two favorite athletes of all time still. And you personally worked with both of them, among others. Tim, what is one of your all-time favorite Kobe stories that will share his excellence, his mindset, that really illustrates the embodiment of Kobe Bryant?
Well, there's a lot of them. Obviously, everybody knows his work ethic and what he was able to do. But the one thing I would say about Kobe, he was so coachable. He was so coachable. I share this story quite often. Is on the chat on his fourth championship against the Boston Celtics, if I remember this right. They had just lost Game 6. All right, and he had meetings with the coaches, he had meetings with his players, he did all these different things, and then I met him later, and then he came in, he sat down, and we were just talking. He goes, Matt, I threw everything at him but the kitchen sink. And I just looked at him. I said, well, why'd you say the sink? All right. Now, a lot of the athletes would have came back and taken in that as criticism or as an insult and would have defended like what would have happened. They would have made excuses. And he just kind of gave me that mama glare and said, you're absolutely right. He goes, you're absolutely right. So they have the ability to hold themselves so accountable, and they have the shortest memories. That's why they don't worry about taking that big shot. They don't worry about that moment. Most people are worried about what's going to happen if they make it, if they're going to miss it. They're like, why should I worry about a shot I've never taken? Why should I worry about a shot that I've never taken? And they are so well prepared. He was so well prepared that thinking was a distraction to him. And what do I mean by that? Well, it takes years and years to think, not to be able to think. No, it takes years and years of preparation. Doing
so much prep so that on game day you just let it go. You just
let it go. Because if you're thinking,
instincts,
if you're thinking, you're not in the moment. You've heard this. Obviously being around professional sports and playing it yourself, or you hear coaches all the time that tell you, just go out there and play. Don't think. Well, what's the first thing you do? You start thinking.
Yeah.
All right? You start thinking, but you have to have years and years of thinking and preparation not to be able to think. He put in the work like no other.
And I think that prep, all of the work is what then led to this immense confidence. The confidence led to winning, and the winning led to more confidence in this belief. And then also sounds like it allowed him to take ownership of the situation when it didn't go well, to be coachable, so to fix it, and to have an open mind to say, I've surrounded myself with people intentionally, whether it's coaches, whether it's you, right? Some of it's his teammates, to have an open mind and to listen. And one of the things you write in your book is winning requires you to learn, question what you learned, and then learn more. And, so it obviously goes along with my show. It's called the Learning Leader Show. It's all about the fact that my favorite leaders were the ones who always were on a mission to learn more, always were on a mission to believe, I have an opinion. I know what I think as of right now, but my mind is open. And if there are better ways to approach this, I'm gonna constantly seek out the better ways. And I sense that's MJ, that's Kobe, that's the type of people that you're working with on a regular basis.
Like I said, they're the most coachable individuals. My business clients, my professional athletes, the best of the best are the most coachable individuals. And you know what you said earlier about confidence? Listen, in the book, I say it in Winning, confidence is the ultimate drug and winning is the dealer. The more you win, that's why I said every single day, if you just get those little wins, like for the people that you said, I don't want to work out today. I don't want to do this. All right. Well, when you go out and do it on those days, your confidence gets even better. All right. And those are the times where you got to bet on yourselves. You got to bet on yourselves. And each little workout and each little time you do something that you don't want to do. When you listen to a coach that has a different thought process than you do, or has an idea that you may not agree with, but you were like, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. You're investing in yourself. The greats always bet on themselves, and they always invest in themselves. There's a big story that comes out every single year that how these athletes invest 7 figures into their bodies and how they prepare and all that. To me, it's like, duh, shouldn't everybody be doing that? This is your tool. This is, if your agent or yourself doesn't set aside a stipend and say, hey, this is your money to keep you healthy, to keep you going, to maximize your ability. I mean, Michael did that back in the late 80s. And Kobe did it for so many years. Wade did it. I know LeBron does it on a consistent basis. One of my new clients, Russell Wilson, he invests in himself. Those results don't come by accident. They don't come by accident. You have your greatest business people, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these people that you see, Branson, when you see these individuals, they surround themselves with people that they've invested in, that have invested in themselves. They understand that they have to be selfish, and they need the people around them to be selfish for them.
Say more about that. I know this is a big thing you talk about, because when you hear the word selfish, it doesn't sound good to a lot of people. It doesn't sound good. Yeah.
And that's exactly it. It's just the word. It's just the word that selfish itself doesn't sound good. But
right.
We give it so many other meanings. Listen, you get an individual that says, I don't understand when you say selfish. Why is it selfish to take care of yourself? Why is that a bad thing? I've never understood that.
Take care of yourself first. You must lead yourself before you can lead anybody else.
Yes, and then the more you take care of yourself, the more you can give to others. People are selfish all the time. It's funny. Okay, so Ryan, I do this all the time. I'm not a meditation person. It's not for me. All right, but it's funny when you have an individual and they say, listen, I'm going to meditate for the next hour, or they put it in their schedule. This is meditation. Everybody says, oh my God, that's wonderful. You're taking care of yourself. You're doing something that you should do. All right. And I'm sitting in my office and I tell everybody, hey, don't bother me for the next hour. Now, all of a sudden I'm selfish. What's the difference? What is the difference? You know, what's the difference between selfish and me time? What's the difference between selfish and a man cave? What's the difference between selfish and girls' night out? All right. It's all up. You have to take care of yourself. You have to invest in yourself. The more you take care of yourself, the more you can invest in others. Now, if it's always about you, that's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
That is selfish.
You know what's interesting, Tim, and I would be curious to, I bet this is with you times 1,000, but the people who reach out to me asking for some sort of like one-on-one executive coaching, usually high level leaders, as I get to know them, the ones who are proactively reaching out, I almost finish the kind of the introductory phase of those conversations, which usually lasts a few hours. I finish them and say, dude, you're already like at the top of your game. You have high levels of awareness. You're so coachable. You're performing at incredibly high levels. I don't think you need it. And they're like, no, I absolutely do.
You need it.
And the ones who need it don't reach out. And the ones who are already performing at these amazing levels, they're always the ones who are reaching out saying, no, yes. I need feedback. I need more. And to me, that's inspiring. Like that is an inspiring thing to see that these high performers are the ones who are reaching out almost 100% of the time. I bet you see something similar.
They're looking to get that, not 1%. They're looking to get that 0.001% better.
Yes.
That's what they're looking for, because they've had so much success. So they know they're not going to get a 20% gain or whatever. They're just looking for that little advantage to stay ahead of everybody else, and including keeping themselves ahead of
their previous self. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You know, I was funny. I used to tell, we trained a lot of, in the facility, we had a lot of athletes, you know, in the mid-range. And I used to tell them, I was like, you need this more than those guys. All right. I said, Kobe's going to get his money. He's going to get his stardom. All right. Michael's going to get it. Dwyane's going to get it. LeBron's going to get it. These people, it's the middle of the pack individuals. I said, this is what's helping you consistently succeed. And those, I had more issues with my middle road individuals than I did with my high performers. My high performers, I never had to tell them to show up on time. I never had to tell them to stay late. I never had to tell them, you know, put in the work. You know, I never had to tell them, you know, hey, do everything with a purpose. They just knew. They were so self-aware and so confident in being able to point out their own mistakes and their own and I never had to raise my voice with these individuals. That was the one thing. I never, you know, you see motivational speakers and they're yelling at the top of their lungs and their veins are sticking out and their forehead is about to bust. Look at you, Ryan, with your highest performers. When have you had to raise your voice with them?
Never.
Yeah, you don't. You have like a normal conversation with those individuals.
One of the things you write about is the fact that winning makes you different, and different scares people.
Yes,
and
it does.
One of the things that you did that I remember when this news came out was the fact that Michael Jordan started lifting weights on game days, and people thought both of you and him were absolutely nuts. Yeah. Share more about whether it's that story or just the fact that sometimes winning makes you different, and that can be scary for other people.
Well, you know what it is? It goes back to, you know, how the greats can get that 0.001% better. So I looked at the schedule. I looked at a basketball schedule, off season and in season. All right. And I have a little bit of knowledge about working out. So I used to be like, okay, well, if we only work out on these particular days, the scale is going to be just like motivation. It's going to be up and down. It's going to be like that sugar high, constantly up and down. We're never going to be able to make any progress. We're never going to be able to maintain any consistency. And there's going to be times in his, during the season, if we don't lift, his strength will be up and then it'll be down. Now, I know if your strength is up, your strength is down, your chances of getting injury injured are so much greater. Plus, I want to be able to have his strength at a consistent basis, so he has the same elevation on his shot. He has the same release point. So all those things. So I was like, hey, I even approached him. I explained this to him. I said, hey, MJ, we have to lift on game days, and this is why. This is why we have to lift on game days. And he had the same thing. Everybody said, oh, first of all, basketball players shouldn't be lifting because, it makes you bulky. It's going to throw off your shot. And I was like, well, it's going to make you less athletic. I'm like, working out makes you less athletic. That's a new one. So I said, and then he had the same concern. He goes, well, what about recovery time? I said, we will do this early in the morning. I said, we will do this before shoot around. I said, it'll be done first thing in the morning. You'll have plenty of time. You'll have plenty of time to recover. And I said, now, when we first start this, are there going to be some adverse effects? I said, yes, but the adverse effects will not stay for long, and the gains will be so much more beneficial. Mm-hmm. And he believed in it. We went and gave it a shot, and the results are history. And then now you see athletes, a lot of athletes train on game day. They have a routine that they do. Tom Brady's one, LeBron is one, James Harden is one, Kobe had one. Russell Wilson, all these individuals, they have a routine on game day in order to wake everything up, not only physically, but mentally.
Mm-hmm. I love the stories about how Michael would help Kobe. Sometimes Kobe would call or text him at random times of the entire clock. And you said that Michael got a lot of joy out of passing it on to his understudy. And one of the things that stemmed off of that story that you told in your book is the fact that you tell corporate clients, quote, when you know what to think, you're ready to compete. When you know how to think, you're ready to win.
Yes.
Can you share more about this difference between knowing what to think versus knowing how to think?
Well, it's funny. Our whole education system goes on, what to think. Mm-hmm. What to think. Everything is about what to think, what to think, what to think. All right. I've always known look at the world has changed so much in these last, I don't know, you could say 10 years, decades, whatever you want to say. All these individuals, in the tech spaces and, the financial spaces, all this stuff, those were concepts that came up on their own. Mm-hmm. There was no book that was written about those things. That was their ability to be like, hey, yeah, this is what everybody's telling me what to think, but I have the ability to know how to think. And how to think means trusting your instincts, knowing what to take and what to leave behind, not always following the pattern that everybody else does. That's why in our book, there are no 5 steps to this. There's no 10 steps to this. All right, because those steps are different for each individual. And the people that know how to think know how to maneuver those steps, even when you cannot see those steps.
What are some ways someone's cocking their head a little bit sideways, going, okay, I was good in school, I got good grades, and I think I was taught what to think. Maybe I'm lacking there. Like, what are some things that you tell people to help them with the how to think part, not just what to think part?
Well, it kind of like, it goes into like being able to have confidence in your abilities, trusting what you know, not what you see all the time. And here's the thing, challenging other people's perceptions and thoughts and ideas of things, and not copying everything they do. There's so many social media individuals out here that, they're these experts. And what do? They always tell you what to think over and over and over and over again. And you start to emulate, you try to copy these individuals, and having the ability to say, hey, you know what? That doesn't work for me. And not having, listen, it starts off real early, where your parents want you to do certain things a certain way, and you have to respect them because you're under their roof, if they're paying your bills or whatever it may be. But they're brought up a certain way. My parents were brought up very structured. To them, it was like, get an education, go to college, get a job that gets you a paycheck every single 2 weeks, that you have benefits, you have vacations, because they were the what to think individuals. For myself, it was like, that just doesn't work for me. It's just like, that's a life that's not my definition of success. It was their definition of success. So my ability of how to think was like, okay, I want to have the freedom to work my own hours. And being my own hours is not working less hours. I know I was going to end up working more hours, but not having to answer to other individuals. Being able to come up with creative ways to work out individuals. Being able to come up with my ideas and my perceptions on what needs to be done. We all have that ability. And we end up losing it because everything we do, everyone else is telling us what to do. One of the two biggest criticisms I get from the two books is they don't tell you what to do. Exactly. They are not going to tell you what to do. Remember, winning is a test with no correct answers. You have to figure those answers out. You have to know what those answers are going to be. Everyone's going to tell you, the people that tell you you're off and you're crazy, take that as a compliment, because no one who's done anything great has thought like everybody else.
Yeah.
We don't want, normal is not a good thing. Average is not a good thing. So when somebody gives you that compliment and says you're a little bit different, you're a little bit off, that means you are doing something they can't understand. And when they can't understand something, that's your ability on how to think.
Tim, it makes me think of, I sent my first draft of my first book to executive editor at McGraw-Hill, Casey Ebro, and Casey's the best. She's been so helpful on everything I've worked on. And she said, Ryan, we've had a lot of phone calls and Zoom calls leading up to this. And on so many of them, you shared this unique perspective and point of view. And on this first draft, I see you quoting other people a lot more than sharing your point of view. Take that stuff out and replace it with the things you've told me, because I've learned some things I haven't heard before.
Yes.
Why don't you have that? I'm like, that is such great feedback. And she's so good at her job. I've told her this before, how grateful I am. But I think that is the what to think versus how to think. That's an example of it for me, where I was like,
yes,
wait, you've done the work. Now you kind of have to have some of the guts and the confidence to put it out there.
Yes.
And that is shifting from just regurgitating and quoting and saying, well, yeah, you've interviewed and you've read all this stuff. That's fine. That's already out there. What we'd like for you as the author of this is to take all that information in, synthesize it, understand it, and then share it from your unique perspective, from your ideas. And I think it was a great lesson in leadership for me, because that's what I think we want in leaders, is for them to have to do the work to be able to then do that and get that result.
Yes. Listen, what happens. So what's funny, what she kind of said to you, you had this vision. All right. But when you were writing stuff down, all right, you could, you only had sight. You were like, oh, let me quote these people. And then she brought your vision back into it. And when you only have sight is exactly of what to think. You see something, okay, no, there's a perception. You can look, and the people that know how to think can look at a piece of artwork or look at something and see things that you don't have, you'll never notice. So they'll notice different points here and so forth. So what she did is she gave you that ability again to say, hey, listen, don't tell these people what to think. Tell them how to think of what your perceptions are, what your ideas, your thoughts are, what success and winning means to you.
Winning is not a marathon. It's a sprint with no finish line. You hear the marathon analogy used all the time, and you go against that. It's not a marathon. It's a sprint with no finish line. Say more about that.
Well, you know what? Listen, I've never ran a marathon. I have no plans of running a marathon. But in life, it is a marathon with a lot of sprints in there. Mm-hmm. All right. And if you look at the top marathon runners in the world, they're running a sub 5 minute mile, even close to like under 4:40 sometimes. Get on a treadmill and try to run 1 mile at a 5 minute pace. It's a sprint. It is a sprint. And, I know there's a lot of people out there that says, you have the luxury of time. I don't believe that. All right, because anytime you're lacking, somebody else is going to pass you up. And to me, how do you end up staying in that marathon with constant sprints all the time? Well, most people manage time because, they're trying to say, okay, I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to do it in X amount of time. If they haven't ran a marathon, I want to do it in under, 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever it may be. And you have those other individuals that they're so focused on the finish line, they're not worried about the time. Those individuals are managing focus. They're not managing time. People that manage time all the time creates distractions. Time, you're constantly looking at your watch. Oh, I got to go do this. I got to do this. What does focus do? When you focus on something, it blocks everything out. It blocks all the distractions out. So when we talk about, winning is not a marathon, it's a sprint with no finish line. If you can manage focus instead of managing time, you'll be able to sprint more often in your marathon of life than only if you're managing time. Because if you manage time, it's going to be like, okay, I have this much time to complete something. If you've ever crammed for a test, all right, you had so much focus during that time that time became irrelevant. You didn't even know what was going on. Time tells you to stop. You're like, okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'm done. All right. Focus tells you there's more to do. Those are those individuals that, they don't come in and say, well, what's my workout time today? Am I working out for an hour? And I'm working out for this. They don't care. They don't know the difference between whether they've been in the gym for 20 minutes or they've been in the gym for three hours, because they've been managing focus during that whole time. And focus comes from within you. Time is external. Time is out here. It's external. It's on your watch. It's on your phone or so forth. Focus is within yourself.
Tim, I would imagine that, wrapping up here, I would imagine that you, people who are earlier in their career are constantly reaching out to you for advice, seeking knowledge, wanting to do either what you've done or in some way, shape, or form leave a dent in the world. And so I'm curious, what are some general pieces of life/career advice you'd give to somebody a bit earlier in their career for those who want to sustain excellence?
Well, this is what I always say. I said, do everything, experience everything, feel everything. All right. Do everything until you know what you want to do. All right.
What did you do at the very beginning of your career? I am curious, like right after college, what would you do?
I went to work at a local health club. I finished with a master's degree in exercise science. I went to work at a local health club. The minimum wage back then was $3.35.
Wow.
That was the minimum wage. So imagine finishing off a master's degree. All right, and my parents were like, listen, you can't sit at home. You got to go do something. And the only job available was being a fitness attendant, not even a trainer, a fitness attendant. So I came in, I cleaned up the equipment, opened up the room, made sure everything was organized, pick up the towels, and did all those things. But I was fortunate enough. I always knew what I wanted to do. I was like, all right, I want to train professional athletes. That's what I wanted to do. All right. But I had to do everything and experience everything and feel it in order to be able to train professional athletes. So whatever you want, whatever your thing is, do it all, experience it all. Don't think any job is beneath you, because the experience you get from there is going to be invaluable. And don't look for the easy way out. Everybody always, I hate when people come up to me and say, they said, what's the one thing? Boy, I wish it was that simple. It's not. And everybody's always looking for the shortcut. There is no shortcut. As you progress in winning, you have more knowledge. You may know how to make things a little bit easier to navigate, but still the shortcut is not available.
The book is called Winning: The Unforgiving Race to Greatness, a part of Tim's winning series. I highly recommend it. However, I will say, be prepared to be challenged. Do not buy this book or read it if you're not willing to challenge yourself and be challenged by Tim's words. Fantastic job doing it, man. And thank you so much for being here today on the Learning Leader Show. And I'd love to continue our dialogue as we both progress, man.
I would love to, Ryan. Listen, please, anything, we want to help you put this podcast out. Send us everything that you have. We'll promote it on our thing. Send us whatever you want us to post out there. We'll make sure it goes out there. What the information you're providing out there, and the experience that you have, and the individuals that you've talked to. Knowledge is everywhere. These are all wins. You just have to go out, pay attention, be in the moment, and find it, and have access to individuals like yourself.
Man, thank you. It means a lot, Tim. I appreciate it. I've been following your work for a long time. And so it's a really cool honor for me to get a chance to talk with you today, man.
And please send us a copy of your new book.
I will. Thanks so much. All right.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.